for being here and answering questions. And I'm going to go back to a little bit of what Representative Brown was talking about in dealing with, in your report and the numbers that you have brought forward. The IFO, both two consecutive years, have said that the revenues would be lower than what the governor estimated. So in 18-19, it was $127 million difference, and in 19-20, it's $105 million difference. So I'm just trying to kind of pinpoint exactly where the governor believes there'll be more income than you do, and see where those differences lie.
Yeah, so to your point, again, I would point to the packet, if I may, and on pages 12 and 13, we have a breakout by revenue source comparing the IFO with the executive budget. And I'll just touch on page 12. We have a $128 million lower revenue estimate. So the main one that we're more pessimistic on, you can see, is for personal income tax other. So these are estimated payments. They're not withholding. They're not wage related. So these would, again, be capital gains and business income and interest and rent. So we are more pessimistic there. Again, part of that, or much of it, is due to what we saw in January. We had a shortfall of $100 million for that income source. And so we think we're going to see that in the final payment. We are more optimistic. Down the very bottom, you'll see a difference of plus 123. So we think gross receipts tax revenues will come in much stronger than the administration, and we base that on data from the EIA, the Energy Information Administration. The electricity sales were very strong last year, and we think that's a good indicator of the revenues we'll see. For next year, if you look on page 13, I would characterize that as a fairly modest differential. It's $102 million, so I characterize we're on the same page for next year.
Okay, and it was smaller, lower than it was last year. Okay, thank you. My other question has to do with a little bit of what Representative Grove was talking about with the different shifting of dollars to different accounts. The governor has proposed increased spending in a lot of different areas, and but a lot of the numbers that aren't calculated in that spending number at the bottom is the ones that have been shifted offline. And so my question lies in the fact that that concerns, because the objective of paying for those offlines in certain cases are totally different initiatives, whether it's prevailing wage, whether it's a severance tax, whether it's whatever issue that he's thinking will be paying for that. If those initiatives do not happen, that money will then have to be brought back into the main budget. And so that's a big concern, because we're talking millions and millions equaling billions of dollars that the governor's trying to spend more, and we don't have the facility or the ability to pay for it, because these are initiatives that are yet to be approved or delineated. So can I get your comment on the fact of bringing a lot of billions of dollars back online into this budget and making that just that much more of a deficit that we have to fill a hole for additional spending that we don't have?
Yes, and to your point, I again point to page 5 in the packet where
right, and I had looked at a lot of the different numbers that you had there, and that's my question as to the fact you're registering that there is an issue. So.
Yeah, so I just point out a few to your point. For example, the new fee for the state police at $104 million, the minimum wage increase at $120 million. If these things don't happen, of course, then expenditures will be higher or revenues will be lower.
Right, and so that goes to, in and of itself, the spending more than we have, I guess, is the kind of the message that we're concerned about, and the fact that I know my taxpayers do not want that. But the ability for us budgeting-wise is by putting that much off book. When we're taking a look at the bottom line of a budget, to me, that's a lot of money moving around, and a lot of it that's being left on, kind of in a hole. So as the IFO and the ability for us to determine best fiscal policy, to me that doesn't sound like sound fiscal policy to be able to move money off book, make a lower number as increased spending, but then when it doesn't happen, it has to come back. Is that in fact, do you have a comment on that at all as to the ability to spend dollars we don't have?
No, I defer on that question to the Budget Office of the Revenue Department.
Okay, you will leave that with that secretary then. We'll go with that. Thank you very much.